Springfield's Talk 1041. It is Thursday, everyone, and welcome to the show. My name is Nick Reed. Streaming live, KSGF.com. Also, we got the in-studio live video feed along with the audio. That's on Springfield's Talk 1041. See you tomorrow, Friday. Be out at Scramblers. There's a World Cup game tomorrow, USA. Are you watching that?
I haven't watched any of it.
Well, we've only been in one game. I mean, there have been a lot of other
I haven't
games.
watched any of it.
I just figure what is going to happen is because I feel like I've seen this play out before, whether it's women's or men's soccer, that people are like, bleh. But then when the USA really advances and it looks like, oh my gosh, they may really, it's possible they're going to, do this thing. Suddenly people completely understandably start to become more interested. It's sort of like the Super Bowl. A lot of people don't watch the lead up to it. They don't watch the season. They don't watch, anything other than, once the Super Bowl, because a lot of people are talking about it and excited about it. And then the fans who watch from the beginning, they're like, oh, sure, now you're interested. It's like, it's like, what do you want? Here's the way I look at that stuff. You gripe and complain that Americans aren't interested in, this sort of thing. And then when they become interested in it at a certain level, you gripe about it because they're not interested in it on the same level you are. Well, everybody starts at, any sort of event or activity, there's something larger within it that catches the people's attention that don't normally pay attention to those things. And then they start to get into it a little more and more. That's how it works. And I've always found it humorously counterproductive for people. You see it with music a lot as well. They have a favorite band and they're like, man, people just don't appreciate, whatever the band is. And they're just so awesome. And it's just, it just sucks. People don't have an appreciation for the good music. And then if their band gets really popular and people start liking it, then they accuse the band of selling out. It's like, what do you want for, anyhow. There is a game. I think it's 2:00 tomorrow in Seattle. It's USA.
Tomorrow
gosh,
it's USA versus Australia.
Australia, that's right. USA versus Australia. Okay. Things to talk about today. We've got quite a few things. Let's just start off on what we're not going to spend a lot of time on because I just myself flipping through and the times that I have, listen to this, listen to that. I'm just really tired of hearing of this, everybody trying to fill in the blanks of what we don't know about the Iranian deal and what's going to happen and determining that it is going to be a failure. Listen, the Trump approach, it's a 14-point plan. And our approach in the past, and I know I've mentioned this before, but just bear with me here, is to up front give everything to the people we're dealing with in exchange, for a promise that they'll be good. We did this with North Korea. It's how they got nuclear weapons. We said, hey, don't build nuclear weapons. And they're like, and we're like, stop being bad. And they're like, okay, but we want lots of stuff first, including you to help us build infrastructure for nuclear capabilities. But we promise we'll only use it for civilian purposes. And we're like, okay. And then like the day, and there's video of this, it's sadly humorous, that all the video streams went live for the monitoring to make sure that they were holding up their end of the bargain. The North Koreans are detaching them. You just see the video feeds ending like, well, that didn't work. And then, and this wasn't just the Clinton administration. This went through the Bush administration as well. I remember the announcement coming out of the Bush administration that for humanitarian purposes, I think Colin Powell made the announcement that we were going to deliver however many tons of rice, I believe it was, to North Korea because people there were starving and there was cannibalism and people were dying because there was no food. And we knew, we even acknowledged we knew that any time they got any sort of humanitarian donation, it did not go to the civilians. It fed the military, And then what was left over, they sold on the black market in order to fund their military and their nuclear ambitions. And the Bush administration, we knew they did this, but we did it anyway. Because it's all about appearances. And every step of the way, the North Koreans, they learned. Just like a toddler that wants candy, wants a play toy, start pitching a fit. And if the toddler has a parent that is willing to do anything to get the toddler to shut up, the toddler knows that. So all I have to do is act up to get what I want. And that is long how we have operated through previous administrations. And Iran, of course, is another example of that. And what the Trump approach has always been, and we're told based off of this 14-point plan, is going to continue, is that, no, we're the ones that are in charge, and you behave first, and once you prove that you're doing what it is you're supposed to do, then you earn these things, all right? We're not the ones earning your good behavior. You are the ones who have to prove yourselves and earn the reward for the good behavior. Now, is that approach going to work? Don't know. This is my position on it, and I'll agree that much of it's just based off the fact that I want it to be successful, not because it's Donald Trump, but because it's good for the country and good for stability, and it's just good. And you'd think that at the very least that would give even doubters some hope. Like, yeah, I got my doubts, but you know what? This is how we're moving forward, so I'm really going to hope and pray that this works, instead of, just another opportunity to trash on it and to portray this as a win for the Iranians. And, so my hope is, obviously, that this works. And here's what I'm basing that off of. The fact that Donald Trump, on numerous occasions, previous administration and this one, has taken steps that everyone, including establishment Republicans, have piled on and said, this is ridiculous, this will never work. And it did. And Trump has over and over and over again had critics, honest ones, going, well, I guess I was wrong. Tariffs with the economy, and while we can argue about the overall impact of tariffs, but let's not forget, we were told that we were going to go into the Great Depression over that. Remember that? This was the first summer after his reelection. And people, understandably so, were looking at their retirement funds, the stock portfolio, and the stock market was just absolutely tanking. And Donald Trump, in the meantime, he's like, I'd buy as much of that stock as I could if I were you, because it's going to bounce back bigger than ever. And you had Republicans wringing their hands, panicking. Oh my gosh, this is awful. And Trump's like, no, it's going to be, buy stock. It was like 2-3 weeks. Boom. To the point that you had some Democrats accusing Trump of insider trading, because how did he know that the stock, he was telling people to buy stock. How did he know? Because he was right. What do you mean, how did that was his whole point. That's just one example. If I have to, if for me, my perspective, up in the air on this, don't know it's going to work, have my serious doubts about it, I think Trump has, at the very least, for me, earned a degree of, he's been right before when everyone else was wrong. Now, that being said, I also know that Trump is one, as I mentioned yesterday, he doesn't like to spin his wheels, and he is a big believer in not being hyper-focused on making something work to the degree he wanted it to work. If hyper-focusing on it, if he gets to the point where he realizes, hey, I've gotten as much of this out as I can. I wanted 100%. I got to 60. We're stalled here. And so I can either continue to spin wheels and be stalled out at 60% and let this drag on and on and on, taking up attention, or I can say, that's where it is, take the gain, at 60%, take the 40% loss and move on and try to find successes elsewhere. So I also know that that's Trump's approach. And I think that it's fair to say maybe there's an argument that, yeah, this whole thing didn't turn out exactly the way he wanted, but hey, even if it's not a guarantee, which you can never have, that Iran is going to absolutely never, ever, ever in the history of mankind trying to get nuclear weapons again, the efforts we've taken thus far have set them back tremendously. We have obliterated their military. Yeah, there are a lot of other things that are going on that are bad we don't like, but we are much better off when it comes to Iran, and the world is much better off when it comes to Iran than it was 10 years ago. And I don't think anyone, or 2 years ago, and I don't think any reasonable person can argue against that. While you're going to have people who hate Donald Trump and hate, quite frankly, the country, they're going to want to portray all of this as a victory for Iran. And, maybe even in the mind of some of the Iranians, it is a victory. But when you just look at the situation overall, and, even if there's continued to be a stalemate, is the world better off with Iran having no infrastructure to enrich uranium, no military, economically broken, or was the world better off when they were on the brink of having a nuclear weapon and they were continuing to enrich uranium so that they could build even more nuclear weapons, and they had a full-blown military that oftentimes kept neighboring countries on edge? I think a reasonable person would argue, whether you feel it was worth it or not, that even as it stands now, things are better off in the world than they were prior to this endeavor. That's just my thought. Well, I mean, you can see the 14-point plan. It's not overly specific and it's not overly complicated, because it's essentially saying, hey, we agree to these 14 things in principle, right? Okay, now we're going to start working on the details of each one. So that's all I have to say about that this morning. Latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First, meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. A flood advisory is in effect for Greene, Dallas, and Webster counties until 9 a.m., and a flash flood warning is in effect for Polk County until 9 a.m. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 78. Tonight, scattered showers with a low around 61. For your Friday, partly sunny with a high near 83. And taking a look at Saturday, we'll see a chance for scattered showers through mid-afternoon, otherwise partly sunny with a high near 83.
All right. Tuesday. We've got a lot going on next week. And Tuesday's actually going to be a pretty big day in terms of information and the show. One of the things that we are going to be doing is officially announcing and opening to the public the next Great Escape information. Cam from the travel group will be in. What time do we have her slated for? Is it
I
just
believe
after
it's
7?
7.
Yeah, I think so. So, I mean, probably get news and stuff out of the way. So around 7:10 or so. And that's going to be next Tuesday. And then after that announcement, again, you'll be able to go ahead and start reserving your slots if you want to. So just make note of that. Now, at the same time, that she and Sarah will be in studio here. Now, at the same time, I'm actually going to be broadcasting live from the Goat Ranch for the big week-long event that they have out there, the Baker Spain Stampede. Now, if you're not familiar with this, and I'd heard of it over the years because of some of the involvement from one of our other stations. It is in Greenfield, which is north of Miller, and it's this beautiful place called the Goat Ranch. It's, I think, 2,500 acres. It's rolling. It's just an amazing, beautiful piece of land. And from what I understand, the owners of that land, cattle ranchers, farmers, back, was it 2016 or so, there was sort of a crash in the cattle market, and they were trying to figure out ways to utilize the land to supplement a lot of the losses, and so they started coming up with all these different ideas, and it has turned into, 10 years later, a week-long event of concerts in the evening and rodeo stuff.
Don't they do chuck wagon races out
Yeah,
there?
they do chuck wagon
How
races.
fun.
I think they do also, because I was listening to one of them in another. Jeremy Rabe did an interview with them over on Color 10, and talking about, I forget the name of it, but like outhouse rodeo or something, where somebody is sitting like in an outhouse or a porta potty, and then you've got somebody on a horse that has to lasso it and drag it away. And so, I mean, you can just imagine what that all plays out like. And so I tell you, for those of you that, I don't know if some of you may remember the Route 66 Music Festival that used to take place for the longest time in Springfield. I think the mid to late 90s, and then it stopped, and there was an attempt to revive it or to continue it outside of the Joplin area, and then it just sort of faded away. But that was an event which you could go for an entire week, stay camping, and I don't even remember if it was a week or a weekend. I think it was a full, like, 4 days or so, and it really built up over time, and it got to where you could go and stay there, and there were enough amenities and entertainment things to where you didn't have to leave at all if you didn't want to. And that is what this has really turned into, with different, like, food offerings and entertainment and so forth. And so Tuesday, I'm going to be doing the show out there. Hopefully a couple of the owners from the ranch will join us. I don't know that any of the artists will be able to, just because of the timing of all of that, and with the evening concerts and so forth. But Andy, Springfield Livestock, they are big partners and promoters and sponsors of that. So they're going to be out there, and they may join us at some point. And so on air, you're going to hear me from there. Then in the 7 o'clock hour, Cam will be in here with Sarah to make the announcement regarding the upcoming Great Escape. Now, part of us being out there at the Goat Ranch for the big Baker Spain Stampede is that they have given us a Gold Spur pass to give away today and to give away tomorrow. And is this for, how many is it for? I should have asked that question.
All right, you get 2 tickets.
Okay, 2, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what it includes. It includes a week pass for all of the events and primitive camping. This facility is set up for RVs and so forth, but this includes your good old-fashioned camping along with it, plus pit tickets for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Week pass is free for kids 10 and under, does not require purchase. All ages are required to have a ticket in the pit or the corral. So if you win it, that doesn't mean that you have to go and camp and stay the entire time. You can kind of jump in or out. It's about 45 minutes from Springfield, depending where in Springfield. And so it's a tremendous value. You can go. Do we have a link where people can see the
We do.
lineup if
Yep.
they
If
want?
you go
Okay.
to ksgf.com, it should be that first homepage slider.
And the first, let's see, June 24th is the first concert. So what day is that? Is that Wednesday?
I
Is that right?
believe
Okay, all right, yeah. So
so.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday
Mhm.
are the events. And again, you can, that pass, pretty much it's come and go as you please, stay the whole time if you want. And it's got the special, pit access. It will be a digital ticket you'll have to get in. Once you're there, the one thing you will have to do as anyone who would purchase this package, and you can ask when you check in, where you get, it's one of those little RFDI or bracelets.
wristband
Yeah,
things.
yeah, that allows you to be in the pit area of the concert if you want to. The way to get registered for it today is let's see. We have a word, right, to text.
We
I
do.
don't have
And
it.
it is on a sticky note right in
Oh,
front of you.
look at that. There it is. Okay, Baker. Baker, Baker. Text that to the Pyramid Roofing Company text line 447 KSGF. And that, is this until 9 this morning?
That is correct.
Okay,
And
so
then it will text you, and then I will send them over via email. And I will, oh, by the way, if you do register, I will need your email at some point if you win, and I will send you some paperwork that you have to fill out that releases the tickets to you. So just a heads up on that.
yeah, the value of this is over $700,
Yes.
just to give you an idea, because it includes access to all of the concerts over the 4 days.
It's a very big prize.
Yeah, it's a very big prize. If you, again, want to win that or have a chance to win it, text the word Baker, Baker, to 417-447-KSGF. Yes, indeed. And of course, let's not forget when it comes to, I mean, you think about tacos, who doesn't then think about home loans? No one probably, but that's my transition to remind you about iwantagreathomeloan.com for all of your home loan needs, the characters there, team there, and just can't stress enough the in a day and age where so many are increasingly moving to AI, but even before that, you're dealing with something that is financially massive, and yet it doesn't really seem as if the people handling it see you other than just another file or another name. Well, what's your account number? And you're like, with iwantagreathomeloan.com and that team, you go to the site, and if you want, Alex Carricker and Anthony Carricker's cell phone numbers are right there, and it's their cell phone number, and you can call them or text them anytime, even on the weekends. And that doesn't mean that they're necessarily always going to be sitting there available. They have families, they have lives, but they don't limit themselves to the standard, banking or loan hours of 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And too bad, so sad if you don't get a hold of them during that period of time. It's just one of the many, many differences in terms of level of service that you get when you utilize iwantagreathomeloan.com. A traffic update. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. A flood advisory is in effect for Greene, Dallas, and Webster counties until 9 a.m., and a flash flood warning is in effect for Polk County until 9 a.m. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 78. Tonight, scattered showers with a low around 61. For your Friday, partly sunny with a high near 83, and for Saturday, a chance for scattered showers through mid-afternoon, otherwise partly sunny with a high near 83.
4th of July coming up just a few weeks away. America's celebrating 250, in case you hadn't picked up on that. Lots of celebrations across the Ozarks. Complete list of where you can see fireworks throughout the area thanks to R&R Fireworks in Springfield. Just go to ksgf.com to check the list. And then a reminder today or during the morning show, you have a chance to win Gold Spur passes to the Baker Spain Stampede in Greenfield. It covers all the shows, the concerts. It's a full week pass. It covers the primitive camping, also pit access for the major concerts. Wednesday night, by the way, is a faith night, and I believe on their site it says if you get there after 4, then there's no charge, which is something that is very deliberate by them, and every year that they do this, they have over time made Wednesday night a faith night, and so those of you that maybe normally you go to church on Wednesday night, you want to do something just a little bit different, you can take advantage of that. But we've got, where did you say, do we have where if people want details? I know I asked you. And
it's at ksgf.com.
Okay.
It's that first homepage slider, and
Yeah.
you'll see it'll say Baker Spain Stampede, and then you'll see the lineup.
I'll be there doing the show Tuesday morning. If you want to win the Gold Spur passes for 2, which is over $700 in value, text the word Baker, Baker, to the Pyramid Roofing Company. Text line 447-KSGF, and that'll be your registration. That goes through this morning. We'll have another one tomorrow as well, just FYI. Now, if you want an example of the Democrat Party, Democrat leadership, current Democrat leadership, having a combination of complete detachment from reality, complete lack of any sort of care or compassion about the people that vote for them, their willingness to make decisions that clearly result in negative things occurring to their voters. This story, this is it right here. A new report from Downtown Seattle Association, known as the DSA. Seattle is the city where the people brilliantly voted in a socialist woman who lived in her parents' basement. Some young gal, never did anything meaningful in her life. This is what's kind of crazy about the left. Once upon a time when you would think of someone that was a keyboard warrior in their parents' basement, you're like, what do they know? I mean, they don't even, they have no success. This is someone who still lives at home. And this is what they do with their time. They just get online, and they're the experts, not the people that are actually out there. They're like always criticizing really successful people. Here you have the unemployed person. Donald Trump's a failure. Oh, okay. Democrats now elect those people to higher office. I mean, Mamdani's an example of it as well. That's a guy who, just never really had any job. Do you know Tallarico, by the way? I'm getting a little off the beaten path here. Tallarico apparently has one checking account, and he's signed on with his mom's. This is some of the latest info that's come out because they have to do these financial disclosures. He's 30-something years old. And it is, according to his disclosures, the only checking account he has is actually one that it's his mom's and his name is on it. Graham Plattner, the Nazi that the Democrats are so thrilled about out in Maine. And this, quote, business he had as a so-called oyster farmer, he had one client. One. And it was his mom. And here you got Seattle, this chick who lived in her parents' basement, and, she's one of those people that's never actually had any real-life experience, but she spouts off her mouth. Bernie Sanders, another example of this. He was just ahead of the curve. Starts spouting out, oh, they just know everything, and all the successful people are either failures or they're taking advantage of other people, and they're like, put me in charge. Once upon a time, Republicans and Democrats and independents alike would be like, okay, that's nice. Democrats elect these people now. So what has the socialist mayor of Seattle done so far? New report from Downtown Seattle Association, DSA, reveals that Seattle lost thousands of jobs and significant property value in the years since implementing the Jumpstart payroll tax in 2020. Now, this is a tax put in by another leftist Democrat mayor prior to the latest socialist mayor being in charge. But she's like, no, she's fully supportive of this tax, and her interpretation of this is that it has been a success. So let's listen to the actual results. Monday's report compared Seattle's status with its neighboring city, Bellevue, which has no comparable payroll tax or social housing tax, and found that while Seattle's workforce and property values have shrunk, Bellevue's have remained resilient. Quote, since 2020, what we have seen in downtown Seattle is not a jump start, but instead a slowdown, the report reads. Since being implemented, downtown Seattle has lost around 30,000 jobs. By the way, I think a more, just a better way to describe job loss is to say that 30,000 people have lost their jobs. 30,000 people that once upon a time got up every day, were gainfully employed, were able to take care of their families, were able to pay the bills, no longer had those jobs because the jobs went away. 30,000 of them. The office vacancy rate increased to 32% in the downtown core, and more than $10 billion in office value completely eliminated. The report continued, meanwhile, in Bellevue, which didn't have this incredible, brilliant left-wing tax plan, the city has seen more jobs come to its core, lower office vacancy, and the stability of office building values. This provides a stark tale of two cities and two tax environments just miles apart. The DSA reported that Bellevue experienced a 7% increase in assessed value compared to the 48% decrease in Seattle office properties. Though both cities have a sizable office vacancy rate since 2020, Seattle's rate is also significantly higher at 32% compared to Bellevue's at 24%. In addition to having no payroll or social housing tax, Bellevue also has a similar property tax mileage rate, or a smaller, rather, property tax mileage rate compared to Seattle in 2026. This, the DSA report claimed, presented Bellevue as a more favorable environment for business owners. Well, of course. What many recognize as complete and total common sense somehow eludes the left. The report concluded when comparing business tax burdens and broader tax trends in Seattle and Bellevue, the contrast is clear. Bellevue's more favorable tax climate has made it increasingly attractive to employers and investment relative to Seattle. In a comment to Fox News Digital, Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson defended the city's Jumpstart payroll expense tax as a bedrock for Seattle's resilience during hard economic times. saying, quote, Seattle's Jumpstart payroll expense tax is a key reason why the city was able to successfully bounce back from the worst economic impacts of COVID. Because of Seattle's ongoing economic strength, the tax on the highest salaries paid by the largest corporations has raised far more money over the past several years than originally projected, the mayor said. I mean, it is. I mean, there's a few things going on here, and it may be more of one than the other, may be equal. You can one hand just complete ignorance, another it's not ignorance, just who cares? I'll run this place into the ground. They'll continue to vote for me anyhow. It is a people collectively whose standards have been so lowered by the Democrat Party, they apparently think they deserve no better than this. And to straight up be told, no, this is positive, this is good. The fact that that 30,000 of you lost your livelihoods because of this, the fact that values have plummeted, that office space vacancies has skyrocketed compared to our neighbors here who have a more business-friendly tax environment, and they've been gaining everything. That's exactly what Seattle wants. And the people of Seattle deserve this. Because they will not vote to change this. They will not vote to turn it around. If anything, the next time they vote, it will be for someone who wants to double down and do even more destruction by way of policy. Because liberalism, progressivism, however you want to call it, is a true mental disease. It is a mental disorder. It is a mental disability. And this is what it looks like when it's implemented. Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed. On our Hardscapes and Outdoor, again, I've mentioned the drainage issues, and we've just had these rains thus far as we go from spring eventually into summer, and pretty fortunate as far as I'm concerned. Now, that being said, a lot of times it falls hard and it falls fast, and then you get floods, and the flooding isn't only oftentimes isolated to riverways, to waterways, but you maybe see it in your own backyard, and you may see it puddling around the base of your house, and I always think of water as a slow fire in terms of damage of a home. Fire can obviously do a tremendous amount of damage to your home in a very quick amount of time. Water, the same thing, but it can be done very slowly over time. Sort of the silent destructor, if you will. And one of the things that is of great value, Hunter Hardscapes does, is they provide that service of getting that water away from your home, but doing it in an aesthetically pleasing way. We're not talking about the standard, just get a real long drain pipe off your house and have it go out into the middle of the yard. Having it obscured if you wanted, so you don't even have to see it at all. And this is just one of the many areas of expertise that they do. They do it right, and they do it better than you're going to find others doing it in the area. So if you want it done right, you want it done by the best, hardscaping, landscaping, lighting for your home, outdoor lighting for your home and your landscaping, and taking care of those drainage, those water issues, Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor. You can find them at hunterhardscapes.com. Let's see, what am I looking at here? Okay. I was talking about in the previous segment, Seattle and the implementation of this additional payroll tax. And what was it? There was some other tax a few years ago, and it was called the Jumpstart payroll tax because it was really going to jumpstart the economy. Oh, it's going to make things better. And then the city next door, Bellevue, did not implement that same tax, and everything went flooding over there. Seattle lost 30,000 jobs. The office vacancy skyrocketed 32%. More than $10 billion in office value had been lost, while the opposite's happening over in Bellevue. So and what the report noted is, well, you can't get a better example of two different tax climates and the results and the effects of it. So I see this, and I express great frustration. And in the current mayor, though not responsible for implementing it, has defended it as it's doing exactly what we want it to do. This is what a lot of people on the left don't understand about people like me. See, in your mind, you hear, "Oh, well, he's just railing against a Democrat." Of course, I'm just talking. It's about the results. This is not a difficult thing to understand for normal people. I don't care who put the policy in place. I don't care what political party it was. Of course, I mean, we know what political party puts this in place, but that's it. I guess this is the message. Try to get some of you people on the left to understand this. The reason people like me are opposed to these policies the reason isn't because, a Democrat put them in place. It's because it makes things worse. And I think most people can recognize and understand this is a key difference in the approach taken by what I call normal people, maybe Republicans, conservatives, independents, Trump supporters versus people on the left. People on the left fully acknowledge they don't care in instances if Trump has made things better. He has to go because he's awful and horrible. It's about Trump. It's not about whether the policy works. Doesn't make any difference to them whatsoever. I mean, you had even prior to the election, Whoopi Goldberg sort of acknowledged this when she was saying, scolding people who were going to vote for Donald Trump because they were being harmed by the policies of the Democrats, economically speaking. Saying, oh, you think you're unhappy because you can't afford groceries. You just wait till Trump gets in there and starts putting people in camps, which, of course, is ridiculous. But it was an acknowledgement that you shouldn't care about the results. All you have to care about is who's the good guy and the bad guy. And what you people on the left don't understand is and that's not even why Trump supporters like Trump or liked him. And there's a multitude of reasons, but it wasn't like one day people just, hey, you know what? Oh, yeah, I like that guy for no reason whatsoever. I'm going to support him whatever he does. It's because, on the whole, if you look at his policies, the policies that he implemented, versus most other elected officials, including a lot of Republicans, it just made things better. Just made them better. And so when these tax policies get put into place, and it results in people losing their jobs, people losing their livelihoods, overall lower quality of life, that's why so many of us say, yeah, that's not a good way of doing things. It isn't because the person who did it has a D next to their name. It's because it's an utter failure that makes life worse. I think it may start voting on um, I got even elected officials, but issue stuff like that based off of how bad, or voting against stuff if it's really bad. I mean, these they're just so awful. Oh God, let's get the restaurant in the background noise. And that's a perfectly natural conversation. Oh, boy, I've really been thinking about Amendment 4, haven't you? Oh, yeah, it's the most anti-American, anti-democratic thing. Oh my gosh, they're just so awful. It's worse than AI. I think some of these ads.
I think we should have a contest on like which one's the worst.
Yeah, well, we're getting into the season, so
Tis the season.
tis the season for horribly clunky, unnatural political conversations, either at the breakfast table or at a restaurant, because that seems to me those are the two places that those conversations take place, according to all of the political ads you hear. Springfield's Talk 1041. I am Nick Reed, and next week, Baker Spain Stampede lineup. Now, if you've not ever participated in this event, it's something that you ought to check out. I've known of it, never been involved with it, but I actually was out there at the Goat Ranch. This is where it all takes place. It's 2,500 acres of beautiful land, rolling hills. It is north of Miller, Missouri, by just about 5 miles or so, and they've got this concert series that goes on out there annually. I think this is the 10th year of it. Now, Wednesday is Christian concert night, free concert admission after 4 p.m. Leanna Crawford and Ben Fuller. Then Thursday, Diamond Rio and Zach Top. Friday, Jack Wharf Band and Wyatt Flores. And then for Saturday, Chancey Williams and Casey Donahue. There is camping on site, both primitive, RV camping. They've got rodeo things going on, all sorts of activities during the day. So it really is, it could be essentially a week of camping with concerts and fun and, just an incredible time. And it's only about 45 minutes from Springfield. There are different levels of pass. So you can get a pass for just one concert. There's pit passes. You can do couple. Then they have the higher level gold spur pass. Now there's a bronze, and then there's a silver and a gold. And they have given us a couple of gold passes to give away today to a winner and tomorrow for a winner. And that includes pretty much everything. It includes all of the concerts. It includes primitive camping, so you can set up camping while you're there and stay if you'd like to. All the events that take place during the week, pit tickets for Thursday through Saturday, which is an additional cost. All in all, it's a value of over $700. And so if you want to win a pair, you don't have to go the whole time. You don't have to camp. You can come and go as you please if you'd like. But if you want a chance to win a pair, text the word Baker, Baker, to the Pyramid Roofing Company, text line 447-KSGF. And you have until the morning show is over today in order to do that. And if you win, you'll be contacted and be told what it is that you need to do. It's essentially a digital ticket that you'll have on your phone that you'll show in order to gain entry. And then after that, you will need to, once there, it's a little wristband that allows you to have the pit access. Pretty streamlined, pretty simple process. Tomorrow we'll have a separate pair, and that will be a separate word to text in as well, all right? So for the meantime, till 9 a.m. this morning, if you want a chance to win a pair of those, text the word Baker to 447-KSGF. And while you're out there looking at all that beautiful land and you're thinking, man, this is exactly what I would like. Oh, man, maybe I can't have this exact thing. Maybe I can't get 2,500 acres, but I'd like to just see what's out there and available. Well, you hear me talk all the time. You have us for years, Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Well, her husband, Will, works there as well. He's a partner, and he covers all of the ranch-style stuff. He covers the big rolling hills, the land. So if you are in farming or you just want to have those rolling hills where you can go outside and scream as loud as you want, nobody hears you, he's the guy that you're going to want to get connected up with. It's one of the great things about House Theory Realty. No matter where it is you're looking to live, no matter where it is you have an interest in purchasing a home or land, or what sort of home or homestead you're looking to sell, you are completely covered with Emily Johnson and Will Johnson, House Theory Realty. Let's get some news.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First, meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. A flood advisory is in effect for Greene, Dallas, and Webster counties until 9 a.m., and a flash flood warning is in effect for Polk County until 9 a.m. Today, we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 78. Tonight, scattered showers with a low around 61. For your Friday, partly sunny with a high near 83. And for Saturday, a chance for scattered showers through mid-afternoon, otherwise partly sunny with a high near 83.
Someone had texted in the question regarding the registration to attempt to win the full-blown, top-of-the-line VIP pass situation that we're giving away for the Bigger Spain Stampede if it is one entry per day. Yeah, and it's because it's a short window, so today's keyword Baker that you text into the Pyramid Roofing Company text line, that competition is just during the morning show, and then tomorrow during the morning show we will have a separate word for a separate pair of those passes. But yeah, it's just one per person because it's such a short window of time there, so you don't need to keep doing over and over and over again. It's not going to increase your odds any. Talking during the last hour and this evaluation report that came out and regarding Seattle and Bellevue, the city close to it, and there was I think it was called the Jumpstart tax in Seattle back in 2020. That was payroll tax and something else, and it was supposed to really jumpstart the economy. What they found is that was a giant sucking sound of success leaving Seattle and going over to Bellevue because they didn't have those taxes. 30,000 people in Seattle, their jobs went away, left. The property values plummeted, vacancies skyrocketed, while the opposite was happening in the neighboring city. And so the report concluded, look, it's pretty stark here. You've got two similar in so many other ways cities, but for this tax implication, and the results are pretty clear. And I was noting this is what a lot of you people on the left don't understand, that for a lot of us, it's not a Republican or Democrat. And when we criticize Democrat policies, it's not because it's a Democrat that implements them. It's because this is what happens. Because it's just bad. It's just like what works best. It's not, and then let's try it. Or if it's been tried, let's see how it worked. Yeah, that turned out badly. Let's not do that. Here's another story that falls into that category. Failing Hollywood wants a bailout from taxpayers, and Adam Schiff is trying to give it to them. Hollywood, you know, those rich celebrities that get up on stage and fly their, jets all over the world and don't suffer, generally speaking, the implications of Democrat policies. Well, Hollywood is beginning to feel those implications. So what do they want? They want you, the average American who can't ever even begin to fathom the amount of wealth they amass to essentially bail them out. Isn't the Democrat Party that loves to portray Republicans as, giving tax breaks to billionaires on the back of hardworking America? They literally, Adam Schiff is working to create tax incentives, tax breaks for the rich Hollywood elites on the back of hardworking Americans. So it was yesterday, it was reported that Hollywood insiders fear the city's turning into the next Detroit, which, if you're not familiar with the political makeup of Detroit, it's nothing but Democrats for generation after generation. And so Hollywood, you just got to love this stuff. Hollywood's afraid that their Democrat-run city and Democrat-run state is going to start looking like Detroit, another Democrat-run city. That's how it happens. That's a pretty on-point fear. In response to this concern, it also notes that movie and TV productions, they're taking their business to other more attractive locations with fewer rules and better tax rates. In other words, red states, red cities. In response to this, Adam Schiff and other lawmakers want to give Hollywood a federal tax subsidy. In other words, average, hardworking American taxpayers bail out the rich elites of Hollywood. And it's their own doing. This is what's real frustrating. It's not like they need help because of some unforeseen circumstance. This is what they choose. These are the people they choose to be in charge. And I've always noted that if you're rich enough, you can afford to be Democrat. You can afford to be progressive because you don't suffer the policy implications. The rich Hollywood elite, they don't suffer from open borders the way that the average American does. They don't suffer from high income taxes the way that the average American does. They don't suffer from policies that invite homelessness and drug use in the streets and violence. They don't suffer that stuff. Suddenly, however, the economic policies of the people they put in charge are becoming so widespread and so damaging, they too are beginning to suffer. So who do they want to bail them out? Those of, you and me. Eager to cut costs, studios increasingly shoot films and TV shows overseas and in red states. Unsurprisingly, one lawmaker thinks the government should help out, a.k.a. the taxpayer. Gene Mattis writes at Variety, Los Angeles has been the world's entertainment capital for 100 years and still has an unmatched concentration of talent infrastructure, but in an age of globalization with easy international travel and communication, the city's losing its edge. The problem primarily comes down to cost. Quote, everything costs more in L.A., starting with labor, due to the high cost of living and elaborate union agreements. Other states and countries have developed crew bases on their own and more solicitous of producers' needs and offers more generous incentives. Adam Schiff, Democrat California, told Variety, in order to save this industry in America, we need to be competitive with tax credits. Here's how a normal, rational human being approaches a situation like this. You're running a city or you're running a state like California, and you see your people in your industry fleeing, and they're going to specific locations. A normal, rational human being says, what is it that is making them go over there? And then you start doing that thing. Now, it may sound like that's what they're wanting to do in terms of tax incentives, but that's ultimately not in the big picture. That they're wanting to tinker a bit. So instead of just having an overall environment in which you have less government and lower taxes, where you aren't demonizing rich people, demonizing corporations, where you're not getting workers out there to unionize and to go on strike if they don't get, the next brass ring and create just instead of changing all of that. They're like, oh, well, this one industry. And notice, it's the Hollywood elites, too. It's the rich investors in Hollywood that Adam Schiff is wanting to tinker with and not lower everyone else's burden, but lower their burden so that they don't suffer it so much. When these policies result in the single mom working 2 jobs, losing a job, whether it's a side gig and the laws that they put in place in California that make it very, very difficult to do a side gig. They force some of these, what traditionally a side gig where you could just do it when you wanted, because of California, they changed the rules and the laws saying, no, you have to be an official employee, which means you lose the flexibility. All of a sudden you have all these implications that make it more expensive to hire employees. And so they pass these laws in which people that are middle class lose their jobs. And it's just like shrug the shoulders. They force an increase on entry wage jobs, and there'll be a story about however many different fast food restaurants that are shutting down and all the people losing their jobs. They don't scramble to figure out a way to give tax incentives to those folks, do they? No. Because the Democrat Party is not the party of the working person. The minute they're rich, elite, Hollywood producer, Hollywood actors and actress folks suddenly are complaining because they may have to go to Ireland to shoot a game show, or they may have to go to Georgia in order to film a series, the Democrats are willing to alter the laws so that the average taxpayer gives them a break. There was an audio from a podcast, and I want to say it was Adam Scott and Rob Lowe talking about how miserable things have become in Hollywood, economically speaking. And Rob Lowe at the time, it was some game show. I'm almost sure it was Rob Lowe. Some game show, and they literally were doing the show in Ireland. They were flying the contestants to Ireland, flying the cast, the crew to Ireland, all of it to Ireland, because doing all of that, it was still cheaper than having to do it in Los Angeles. Now, of course, that won't stop those individuals from electing these sorts of people that put these policies in place. Instead, what they'll do is they'll, write them checks to their campaigns and go to the cocktail parties and stroke their egos to get those like Adam Schiff to do special carve-outs for them that the average working person doesn't get. But ultimately, back to the larger point, for a lot of us, this is not Democrat versus Republican. This is not criticize the policies because it is a Democrat pushing the policy. It is criticizing the policy because it makes things worse. And the solutions are actually very simple. When you see somebody doing something that works, you figure out what they're doing, and then you do that thing. And then if you're lucky, you can figure out a way to do that thing even better. So when you have your industries fleeing to states with lower taxes, lower regulation, lower burden, intelligent people who actually care about the individuals they represent look at that and they go, maybe we should start doing that. Not the Democrat Party. Found that audio. This is from, I want to say it was sometime, I don't know if it was last year or not. It may have been a year prior, but I was right. It was Rob Lowe and Adam Scott on a podcast. And what was the name of the game show? The Floor?
The Floor.
And Rob Lowe is host of it, talking here about what it has become like filming it. Now, this is because of Democrat policies, of course. I'm not sure they necessarily recognize this or acknowledge it, but they're recognizing the realities of those policies.
Interesting that you shoot The Floor there.
It's cheaper to bring 100 American people to Ireland than to walk across the lot at Fox.
Right.
Past the sound stages and do it there.
Crazy. You think if we shot Parks right now, we would be in Budapest?
100% we would be. We'd be in Budapest. We would be.
It's so weird. There's nothing shoots in Los Angeles.
Nothing. I had my next show already done, scripts, deals closed.
Yeah.
And they said, we're shooting this in New York. And I said, I'm not moving to New York to do this.
Yeah.
And then it went away. The show's done. I'm not doing it.
Wow.
It's like,
No shit.
yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
It's just too expensive to shoot here.
There are no tax credits. So like all those other places are offering 40%.
Yeah.
40%.
Oh, yeah.
And then on top of that, there's other stuff that they do.
Yeah.
And then that's not even talking about the union stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's just tax economics of it all. So it's criminal what the California and LA have let happen. It's criminal. Everybody should be fired.
It's a bummer. We have our office on Radford lot where we used to shoot Parks.
Yes.
And it is quiet over there.
Quiet.
That place, when we were shooting our show,
Hustling.
oh my God, every stage was filled and working, and it's really weird.
Super, super weird. I love that little lot.
Me too.
Well, it's not weird. I mean, if you want to classify anything as weird, I mean, the outcome's not weird. What's weird is that the people who complain about this the most are the ones who hire the people that create these policies. Now, I don't know about Rob Lowe's politics. I do believe Adam Scott has been pretty vocally leftist as a Democrat. I mean, it is Hollywood, so it's not unusual. But to hear these two individuals in their industry complain that the taxes are too high, that these policies that the policies in place have destroyed their industry, and that all of these, that it should be criminal, these people should be fired, you are the ones who you rehire them. You're the hiring people, and it's your industry that leads the charge, not just to tell people of California to keep the people in charge that make these policies, but you tell the entire country that we should put that political party in charge. If you want to imprison anyone who ultimately is responsible for putting the people in charge that have resulted in the situation that Hollywood has been facing, it is you, the voters, who vote those people in. Let's do a traffic update. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. A flood advisory is in effect for Greene, Dallas, and Webster counties, and a flash flood warning is in effect for Polk counties until 9 a.m. for both of those. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 78. Tonight, scattered showers with a low around 61. For your Friday, partly sunny with a high near 83. And for Saturday, a chance for scattered showers through mid-afternoon, otherwise partly sunny with a high near 83.
Ozarks elder law, got to do that planning ahead of time because the time will come, almost inevitably for every human being, where there's going to be a situation that occurs, power of attorney, medical power of attorney, paying for nursing home, needing to set up a trust, should have set up a trust, didn't set up a trust, you don't need a trust, you need a will, you don't need a will, you need a trust, all of these different things. And the moment's going to come where either you planned ahead of time and you saved yourself a lot of grief, or you're going to go to someone for help and they're going to tell you, well, if you had done this, then the nursing home could be paid for. If you had done this, then your kids wouldn't have to pay all of these taxes on this. But we can't retroactively fix this. It's too late. Almost every one of us is going to have one of those two scenarios. So how do you prevent the it's too late scenario from occurring? Ozarks Elder Law. These are the folks that know what you need to do. And here's how it works. You go to ozarkselderlaw.com, 10 area locations, you set up a free consultation. And this isn't a consultation where they're like, oh, you need to do this, 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 or this. Because it depends on what's going on in your life, how much money you have, what's your age, what are you planning on doing, how many kids you have, do you like your kids, do you like some, you don't like the others, It's just going to depend. And so they're going to ask you to do a little bit of homework, if you will. Then you're going to get back together, and then they're going to give you a real personalized listing of things that you need to do in order to make sure that you aren't dealing with that situation where it's too late. And then they will tell you after that, here's what it'll cost for us to draw up the papers and make it legal for you. Then you decide if you want to do it. So to learn all of that doesn't cost you a thing. That is a public service they provide at Ozarks Elder Law. Again, ozarkselderlaw.com. There's a story about a push in Kansas City for facial recognition on public buses that has ignited debate over security and privacy. And I actually enjoy this whole issue because it really gives me a lot to think about. Some issues, they really, for most of us, come down to, well, this is just right or this is wrong. I think oftentimes there are issues that pop up that our instinct is, oh, this is right or this is wrong. But then if you start thinking about it, like, well, now wait a minute. It can be a sort of a mind puzzler. And for me, this is one of those. So the instinct, I think for a lot of people, maybe a lot of you, is just more surveillance, more big government. So this is bad. We're talking about AI, facial recognition, and so the instinct is this is bad. Now, let me read to you some of this story. This is from Fox 4 in Kansas City. Officials in Kansas City, Missouri, preparing to equip some public buses with facial recognition cameras capable of detecting whether a passenger appears on a list of banned riders or missing persons. Supporters and opponents alike view the effort as a major litmus test for tapping the AI-powered software on a U.S. public transportation system, positioning Kansas City as the latest epicenter in a fierce debate over whether the safety benefits of artificial intelligence are worth the privacy costs. Jay Stanley, Senior Policy Analyst for the Project on Speech, Privacy, and Technology at the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, said, quote, the idea of running face recognition on a camera that is pointed on live spaces in public is a line that until recently has never really been crossed in the last 25 years. The state of Missouri declined to help fund the project as expected due to concerns with the facial recognition component. Still, the city is pushing ahead with local and federal money, said Tyler Means, Chief Mobility and Strategy Officer at the Kansas City Transportation Authority. Quote, privacy is always a tricky thing. We've always had cameras on our buses. It's just new technology. I think in time it'll smooth over and people will realize, well, it didn't really feel any different. And I do think, right or wrong, he's right on that. We do get used to things. I remember when OnStar first started popping up in vehicles. And just conversations about OnStar, and a lot of people like, I will burn in hell before I'll allow anything like that in my vehicle. And now those same people carry around cell phones in which easy tracking, and we just get accustomed to it. We get used to the things, right or wrong, that at initial introduction, we say, I don't think that's something I'm going to like. Okay, so back to the story. Safe Space Global, the Knoxville, Tennessee-based company partnering with Kansas City to run the cameras, started using live facial recognition years ago to alert nursing homes when residents left the building, then brought the technology to correctional institutions and schools. Kansas City's buses represent the company's inaugural venture in transportation. Images captured by camera aboard the buses would immediately be checked against any active alerts generated when a missing person, banned rider, or someone on a law enforcement watch list designated by the transit authority is identified. If no match or safety issue is detected, the facial data won't be retained. After the buses return to the depot, the Transportation Authority would archive the regular video footage on a local server for up to 5 years. Quote, it's not sitting there filming all the time. It just captures the face and goes away. But Stanley with the ACLU warned that it's nearly impossible to limit the scope of a surveillance project when artificial intelligence is involved. Quote, it may be used for a very narrow watch list today, but there are very good reasons to think it will expand over time. Backers of the effort point out that security cameras are already found nearly everywhere, even on Kansas City's buses. And some law enforcement agencies have used facial recognition software to identify suspects spotted on video. Cameras with other types of AI-powered software have been installed in numerous cities on public buses and school buses to read the license plates of nearby vehicles and ticket the one spotted, committing infractions such as illegally parking in a bus lane. Privacy advocates are concerned about those devices as well, but they are particularly alarmed by cameras that could actively record faces even when no crime is committed. Will Owen, communications director for the Surveillance Technology Oversight Project, said city residents should not be guinea pigs for transit systems to test Silicon Valley's latest unproven, biased surveillance tech. Shortly after the 9/11 terrorist attack, police in Tampa, Florida used facial recognition cameras in the Ybor City neighborhood to search for crime suspects, but there was immediate backlash and the program was soon abandoned. More recently, New Orleans police secretly relied on facial recognition surveillance cameras run by a private company despite a city ordinance prohibiting the technology. The Washington Post reported last year, although the program was believed to have been paused, Stanley wrote a report for the ACLU last month that found it was still operating in some capacity, citing emails and activists obtained through an open records request. And they mentioned Detroit has used it in some instances. The cameras, this is the back to Kansas City. The cameras were expected to be installed on the Kansas City buses this spring, but organizers halted the effort just before launch, derailing hopes that they would be up and running in time for the World Cup. The delay was partly technical, a need to upgrade Wi-Fi routers to support both the cameras and a new fare collection system on the buses, and partly financial due to state funding falling through, illustrating the headwinds that U.S. cities often encounter when seeking to deploy facial recognition. And so there are also concerns that they are, quote, racist. There have been, according to some reports, instances in where black people have been, it has been like a mistaken identity situation. Now, I don't know statistically if that is an accurate concern, if that is something that happens to all races in terms of, a white guy gets hit by AI as being this person when it's not actually that person, just looks a lot like him, but it's only one particular group that complains about it being racist. That I don't know. There's a couple of different reasons that I find this to be the sort of issue that is more of a thinker than a lot of other issues. I want to get a traffic update and just hit on a couple of those coming up. The Pyramid Roofing Company text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. Springfield Livestock Marketing Center. A couple of things to tell you about over there. First, they will host a special cow and bull sale on Saturday starting at 6 p.m. They are expecting over 500 head at that sale. Now, if you want to see photos and videos of some of the cattle that will be at that sale, I recommend that you check out their Facebook page. All you have to do is look up Springfield Livestock Marketing Center. And with every post that they make, they also have the name of the field rep and their phone number that can give you more information if you do have any questions about any of those cattle that will be a part of that sale. So once again, that sale Saturday at 6 p.m. Also, Springfield Livestock is a big sponsor of the upcoming Stockton Lake Rodeo. That is coming up June 19th and 20th. Now, it will be held at the Zumwalt Expo Center. Gates do open at 4 p.m. and the fun starts at 8 p.m. Now, if you have any questions about that upcoming special sale or even information on that rodeo, you can find all of the contact information for Springfield Livestock under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Next week kicks off the Baker's Spain Stampede. This is north of Miller, Greenfield, 2,500 acre, the Goat Ranch, and annually they have a big concert series all week long with camping, RV hookups if you want, all sorts of entertainment throughout the day as well. It is an incredible event. It kicks off with a well, let me just actually quickly go through this. So Wednesday, Christian concert night, Leanna Crawford, Ben Fuller, free concert admission after 4 p.m. Thursday, Diamond Rio and Zach Top. Friday, Zach Wharf Band and Wyatt Flores, and then Saturday, Chancey Williams and Casey Donahue. Now, you can go to the site, and we've got KSGF.com, the main little slider there, if you want to get more information on it, and everything from just coming for one concert or doing a pit concert or the whole kit and caboodle, which would be the Gold Pass. Now, we have a pair up for grabs. It includes the week pass with primitive camping, all the events, pit tickets for Thursday through Saturday. Week pass is free actually for kids 10 and under. So if you're a couple and maybe you got a 10, an 8, a 3-year-old and you want to take them, there's no cost for that. And all ages are required to have a ticket for the pit or the corral. But you can get more information about the actual event itself. It's beautiful out there. It's a great event, great family fun. And they have given us, again, a pair of the Gold Spur passes. If you want, well, we're going to give away a pair tomorrow, but a pair today. Your chance by registering. Text the word Baker, Baker, as in Baker, Spain, Baker, to the Pyramid Roofing Company. Text line 417-447-KSGF. And after the show, a winner will be drawn. You will be contacted if you won, and then we will have a separate word tomorrow. And you only need to register once each day because, multiple entries do not increase your odds. So text the word Baker, 447-KSGF. What do I do with this story here? Hey, I think this is an interesting story. Officials in Kansas City, they are preparing to equip public buses facial recognition cameras capable of detecting whether a passenger appears on a list of banned riders or missing persons. And with this, obviously, comes a debate over privacy and then the whole AI component. And what the city says is, hey, here's how this works. It just does an automatic check. And if a person that is not supposed to be riding because they've been banned, or maybe it's a missing child or just a missing individual, it will, boom, lickety-split, let us know if that person is, on the bus. And if not, boom, the faces aren't kept, though they do say that they keep logged, the video stuff for 5 years. Cameras themselves are already on buses, many buses. This is something we have become accustomed to. So I just think about this in a number of ways. And in the end, I don't know exactly if I'm settled on one way or another on this. I think to myself, well, what if you had particularly when it comes to crime and criminals. I mean, first off, I'd say, this should cover anyone on the most wanted list, anyone who is wanted. There's an arrest warrant out for them. People who are in this country illegally, if there is any sort of database of their picture, particularly a lot of these people that are wanted for rape and human trafficking and so forth. I mean, if this is going to be used for public safety, I think that we should look beyond just saying, people who are banned from riding because maybe they don't pay their toll or they've caused violent incidents on the buses. Let's start utilizing this in a real meaningful way if we're going to. I think a lot of people, if the instinct is, no, I don't like this whatsoever because it's surveillance, but if you were to say, well, actually, the plan is to put in a live police officer on every bus in order to keep things more safe, that some of the people who are against the cameras and the AI technology because of surveillance would actually be okay with having a real-time surveillance person there. Now, there are differences. One of them being having a real-life person there in law enforcement for safety purposes isn't capturing people's images and putting it into some sort of database. We do have cameras, like regular cameras that record stuff on buses, and I think some people who are okay with that are still uncomfortable with utilizing it with this facial technology in order to identify people. And I ask myself, is it, I mean, it is more advanced, but is that any less of an intrusion on my privacy? Is it inconsistent to say, well, I'm okay for there to be a camera here in case something goes wrong, someone commits a crime, then law enforcement has the ability to use that camera to recognize that person, put them on television, have everyone on the lookout to track them down. I'm okay with that, but I'm not okay with a camera that does an instant facial recognition in order to see whether that person is on the bus. Is that inconsistent? I mean, there are some differences, but when it comes to the overall effort, it's, like the overall overriding concerns about privacy. I do wonder, well, and I believe that this will eventually happen, as one of the people quoted in the story on Fox 4, KC, had said that, yeah, people will get used to this. It'll happen. I think there's truth to that. But I do just, if we look at just the results, and if it was known in a city, any given city, that the technology is being used, and if you are wanted for a crime, if there's a warrant out for your arrest, if you are in this country illegally, if you are on a terrorist watch list, you will immediately be identified. This is the last place you want to be because you will be captured. What that would do to the overall bus transportation riding experience in a city. Not to mention just, and by the way, if you commit a crime, we're going to have the technology to know, who you are. We're going to be able to, through AI, more easily track you. Would that make a meaningful difference in the overall safety and quality of transportation when it comes to mass transportation? And I think the answer is probably yes. Is that worth it? And is it worth it if that technology is anywhere and everywhere anyway, and so there's nothing we can do to stop it, so we might as well use it in order to make things more safe for the average citizen? And listen, I'm not one of these people, they'll say, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have to worry about it. I think there's a difference in using that as an excuse to go door to door and to search people's private property. This is government transportation, and so right or wrong, that is a difference. So to me, this doesn't fall under that. If you're not doing anything wrong, you shouldn't worry about police coming to your house and searching it, because that's a Fourth Amendment issue there. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Pyramid Roofing Company text line. Half the people upset about recognition cameras on buses use facial recognition on their phone. That's true. Now, of course, many will say, yeah, but it's my phone. And then others would note, oh, yeah, you think so. Like I said, I don't know where I fall on that, and it's one that I still continue to think about, but I do also at the same time believe 10 years from now, if that, it'll just be standard and people will be used to it. Oh, we'll see. I suppose one answer to this is just don't, keep government out of the business of transportation. Leave it to private industry, and that may solve some of those issues. Springfield's Talk 1041. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Hour number 3. My name is Nick Reed. Tomorrow morning, broadcasting live, Friday Road Show from Scramblers. We will not, this probably be news for you, Sarah. We will not have a video broadcast on location tomorrow or any next week.
Okay.
Well, actually, that may not be true, now that I say it out loud. So here's why. This is totally unnecessary conversation for on air, but nonetheless, we can do it anyhow. You can do it. There's a volume adjustment there if you want to use those. The iPad that we use is not going to be available to us after today through next week.
Okay.
But
I'll allow it.
the person that informed me of that said, oh, but you could set up the software on another device. I just don't know that that's going to necessarily work. So anyway, if, for those of you listening, we are not doing a video feed while we're on location, which is something we just started doing. We haven't abandoned it or anything. It may just be a temporary thing. Okay. Glad I made that announcement.
Good job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Tuesday's going to be a big morning show day. Cam, Travel Group, Great Escape. She is going to be here in studio just after 7 o'clock in order to give all the details about the next Great Escape trip. It is going to be, just time frame it for you here. It'll be the end of April of next year. And it's going to be a full week long. It is like it might even be a 7-night. But it's because we had done some that were like 6-night or 6-day, 5-night, and it just turned out that we did some Great Escapes that were shorter. But this is a longer one. It will be the end of April, and all of the details, the cost, the whens, the wheres, everything you need to know is going to be announced on the show with Cam in studio here just after 7 o'clock on Tuesday. And that will also be the window for you to reserve your slot. If you want to go ahead and do that, we usually sell out, as you know, sometimes faster than other times. At the same time, I'm going to be out at the Goat Ranch because next week is the Baker Spain Stampede, and it is going to kick off on Wednesday night. This is an incredible event if you've not ever been part of it. This is going to be my first time involved with it. Wednesday night, free, it's a Christian concert night. Leanna Crawford, Ben Fuller, and then on Thursday, Diamond Rio, Zach Top. On Friday, Jack Wharf Band and Wyatt Flores, and then Saturday, Chancey Williams and Casey Donahue. And it's north of Miller, just a bit. So if you're in Springfield, it's about a 45-minute drive. You can do good old primitive camping, RV camping out there. You can stay the entire week if you want to, or come and go as you please. There's all sorts of entertainment, rodeos, and things going on as well. It's just a really fantastic time. The top tier is the Gold Spur Pass, which is a week pass. It includes the primitive camping, all the events, pit tickets for Thursday through Saturday, and kids under 10 free. We are giving a pair of those away today and tomorrow. If you want to get registered to win a pair for today, text the word Baker to the Pyramid Roofing Company text line, BAKER, 417-447-KSGF. You have until 9 o'clock to do it. We will have a separate word tomorrow. You only need to enter once. And I'm going to be doing the show out there Tuesday to kind of kick it off. And so that's why when I say Tuesday's show is going to be kind of a busy one with me out there, Cam and Sarah in here to unveil all the details about the Great Escape. It is a show that you're going to want to catch. We have Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone, coming up in moments. Now the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First, meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. A flood advisory is in effect for Greene, Dallas, and Webster counties, and a flash flood warning is in effect for Polk County. Both that advisory and that flood warning will be in effect until 9 a.m. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 78. Tonight, scattered showers with a low around 61. For your Friday, partly sunny with a high near 83. And for Saturday, a chance for scattered showers through mid-afternoon, otherwise partly sunny with a high near 83.
Love when we have Author of the Week in studio, and it might be the only author sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone that we have had in studio twice. Christopher Long, one of the few. I know quite a few people, and not often are they cool. So you're one of the few cool people that I actually know.
I take that as a high compliment, a great honor, Nick Reed.
I'm trying to even. So, how long ago was it since?
This is actually my third time.
Is it
on
third
the
time?
show because
but in studio or
no,
okay,
twice
okay,
in studio. Then in 2020, the COVID thing was going on,
that's right,
so we had to do a phoner that time.
That's right.
So my third appearance, but second time
in studio,
in the funky studio here.
It's been upgraded.
It sure has. It's super groovy.
I want to say when we first had you on, what was that book about? Was it just your life on the road?
No, that was Superstar. That was my my Christian fiction debut of.
That was the first time?
Yeah,
okay.
Country superstar Trent Davis and his rise to fame.
All right.
And all of that sort of thing, which was a lot of fun.
Now, you did do, so you have people who may not know you, just background on, because you're kind of a Renaissance man, I guess, in a certain genre.
Compared to some things that my exes would say, I will take Renaissance man.
Okay.
I'll receive that. And
you're a musician.
Sure. Been blessed to do a lot of things. Pretty much my entire professional career has been in the entertainment business and playing in bands, doing entertainment journalism. I toured with rock stars and lived that whole life. So it hasn't sucked.
And you have a weekly column, right? Am I right?
I do. Yeah, I write for a few different publications currently. And one of them, an online magazine, entertainment magazine, Inc19.com, I do a weekly column called Garage Sale Vinyl. And that's what gave birth to my current book that I'm out traveling the country promoting.
And we were talking off air, and I think I even saw it. Of course, you had sent the book. And it seemed usually with a book there comes like a bio and everything. And I think did it say you live in 3 states?
I have hubs.
I'm
because grateful.
Florida is where I think. I mean, you're from here.
I'm like the luckiest homeless guy
Yeah.
in the country. I've got hubs in Oklahoma, Mississippi, Florida. And I just bounce around a lot, doing appearances and doing my thing, and book signings, DJ events, hosting events, speaking engagements. It keeps me on the road so much throughout the year. It's really hard to pin down one home. So I'm blessed to have little man caves set up in 3 different hubs around the country.
Man, come tax time, that must be a pain in the butt.
I have a very, very good accountant.
I would guess that you would.
I don't deal with any of it, but I know people who do know that, very well. So I leave that to the professionals.
Well, we have in studio Christopher Long. The book, as he mentioned, Garage Sale Vinyl, and the idea of the book essentially is you utilize your finds of different albums to sort of tell stories, I guess, is a good way to put it.
Sure. It started out completely by accident a couple of years ago. I found an old Bonnie Raitt album at somebody's garage sale in Florida for like a quarter. And I reached out to my editor at Inc19. I said, well, what if I did a one-time, just a one-off, squirty little retro review of this 50-year-old album that I found for a quarter? Editor says, that's a great idea. You're the vinyl guy. You're the storyteller guy. This should be a weekly column. Every Wednesday, we'll drop a new installment of some great, cozy, classic album that you find at a thrift store or garage sale on the cheap. And then pepper it with the cozy stories. The book is not filled with Wikipedia factoids. It's filled with personal stories, because I'm 9,000 years old. And the cool thing about being the old guy is that I was around when the Stones were new. I was around when Alice Cooper and the whole androgynous thing. So I'm that qualified, wise old owl who can speak very openly to old retro pop culture and that sort of thing. So it's a lot of like the TV show The Wonder Years. This is sort of a rock and roll version of The Wonder Years.
So whenever you do these weekly reviews of older albums, are you reviewing it as it would have been reviewed in its time? Is it in that context? Is it how it fits in today? Is it through your ear today versus when the album? Does that make sense? Because there's so many different, like you see Star Wars when it came out. Oh, but you watch it now and some of the dialogue's corny. But back then it was awesome.
Yeah, and it really covers. I try to cover all the bases, and by that, the term gets used a lot. Oh, well, this artist creates timeless music. Well, that gets thrown around so much, and undeservingly with some artists. But other records and artists truly are timeless. So and I don't go out looking for any particular records. These are the records that find me. And I write about the records that I'm most passionate about. And because I'm the wise old owl, I can write about these beautiful old records from both sides of the fence. I know exactly what they meant culturally back in 1968 when they first come out. And then I also know what these records say to people now in 2026. And a lot of that music has stayed fresh over the years.
It's interesting as one goes through and looks at the albums that you devote time to, and I think a person, as they go through, can get a sense of who you are, your personality, and then they'll hit maybe Debbie Gibson.
Right. Well, being in the music business, and particularly the DJ business over the years, and I was the kid who worked in the record stores back in the 70s and 80s. And that sort of eclectic taste, I really think is true of a lot of people. Back in the 80s, we'd have cowboys coming in and they would buy, 3 8-tracks, and it would be AC/DC, Hank Williams Jr., and Run DMC. So I think a lot of folks like a lot of different sorts of music. And for me, what I really love most about garage sale vinyl is that with the personal stories and the fact that they are older albums, being a kid who grew up in Springfield, most of the stories in this book were born right here in the Ozarks.
Yeah.
The Linda Ronstadt chapter, that was the day my mom came in and said, "Hey, I got great news. We're moving to Florida." And I just lost my mind. In 6 weeks, I was going to be snatched out of my hometown, Springfield, Missouri. And do they even have radio stations in Florida? Do they even have records? What is this place, Florida? And the only way she could console me was to take me to the old Kmart store, over on Sunshine, and buy me that Linda Ronstadt album that I'd been wanting. I was 11. I didn't have 448 to go down and buy records.
Yeah, and don't you? I think that there is also an emotional component that is lacking today when it comes to music because it's so readily available.
Absolutely.
Because today, and that's a memory that has stuck with you however many decades later, that scenario would not play out that way today. Because there's not, the albums that come out. You go and you look at it's just everything it's on the phone. It's on, and so that being not just that was an event. That was a life event.
Sure.
That it can't be duplicated in that way today.
Now, one thing I find really interesting, Nick, and I've traveled the country doing in-store events promoting this book. And I love meeting people at my meet and greets when they come through line and talking to people and so on. And I'm amazed how many people have shown up to my events who are not just young, but very young, like teenagers who come through, and they are organically just discovering this music for the first time. They say the thrill is in the chase. So you've got young people, although so much content is immediately accessible, finding these old records, even for the savvy young people, it's fun. That's the thrill in it. And I get a 15-year-old girl coming through my line at a book signing. Her favorite band is The Who, and it's like,
well, and that's the upside. So, as I noted, I think that there's an emotional component and a memory stamp missing from how easily available music is today, as opposed to it being more of an event when that album came out.
Sure.
But because of TikToks and Reels and the songs that are made available for young people to produce them, it's amazing the scope and the spectrum in which younger people, their musical taste is. To have 13, 14, 15-year-olds all of a sudden looking for Fleetwood Mac albums. You know what I'm saying?
All the time.
Yeah.
I see it and hear it all the time.
And so that's the real I'd say that's the upside to all of that technology.
And they're going to immediately get that new Harry Styles record the instant it drops. But at the same time, they're going to be at the local flea market the next day looking for that old Fleetwood Mac record that they can't access.
Yeah, there's definitely
so
an upside
easily
there too.
And the music is so special, and talking about timeless music, that it speaks to this younger generation in such a way that even the younger people, they're on a mission to go out and find these old records. And I meet these folks all the time. I could hug every one of them.
We're talking with Christopher Long. And speaking of meet and greets, ABC Books this afternoon, right?
Tonight,
5 to 7 or 7 to 9 or what?
7 to 9.
Okay.
My dear friend Val.
She's awesome.
Over at
She's the
ABC
best.
Books. Oh, my
I'm
goodness.
sure she's listening right now.
I love her so much. And her store, ABC Books, is just such a beautiful, sparkling, independent hometown business. And we've been friends for years now. So I make sure that when a new book comes out and a book tour is being mapped out, there's always a stop in Springfield, Missouri. And I don't go to the big name,
Right,
whatever.
sure.
I go to ABC
Yeah.
Books because the books matter at ABC Book. It's not just content, authors, storytelling, creating, and just that sense of community doesn't exist in a corporate
Right. No,
brick
it's
and
so
mortar.
true. Yeah,
but
it's so
that's
true.
everything that ABC Books stands for. So to be able to come in, and she rolls out the red carpet for me, Val, over at ABC. It's an after
got good
hours
taste.
event. She's usually
Yeah.
home at shutting down at 5 o'clock or whatever. But tonight we're coming back for a special after hours little house party. And we've got copies of Garage Sale Vinyl. I'm stoked to reconnect with old friends from here in the area. I always meet new friends at ABC Books. A lot of them are Nick Reed listeners.
Well, that's good to hear.
And they always tell me, I heard you on Nick's show this morning. And I'm like, God bless you. Let me give you a hug too, So it's always a good time doing these
they're
in-store
great over
events
there.
at ABC Books.
Are you in a rush to leave, or do we have you for? Or?
To be with you and Sarah,
You
I
are
have
too
nothing
kind,
but
Greg.
time.
We got Christopher Long, author of the week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. The book Garage Sale Vinyl, more coming up. The Pyramid Roofing Company text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 104.1, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. A flood advisory is in effect for Greene, Dallas, and Webster counties, and a flash flood warning is in effect for Polk County. Both that flash flood warning and that advisory is in effect until 9 a.m. Today we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day with a high near 78. Tonight, scattered showers with a low around 61. For your Friday, partly sunny with a high near 83. And for Saturday, a chance for scattered showers through mid-afternoon, otherwise partly sunny with a high near 83. And Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air summer is almost here. You can just feel it. And if your AC is already struggling to keep up, now is the time to get on the schedule with Foreman. And, maybe you've just noticed some loud bangs or pops every time it kicks on. Or maybe you've noticed that it just keeps running and you have uneven cooling throughout your home. That is your system telling you, hey, I need a little help here. And looking at it now could actually potentially save you from a costly breakdown later. And the best part about the Foreman team is they are very upfront and honest about the work that needs to be done. They're fast, they're friendly, they're very reasonable, and just all around awesome to work with. They also have a 24/7 emergency service line in case there's a breakdown that happens after those normal business hours or maybe even during the weekend. So if it is time to have the Foreman team out to your home, reach out to Russell today. You can find all of their contact information under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at KSGF.com.
Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. Christopher Long in studio with us. Garage Sale Vinyl at ABC Books, a meet and greet book signing after hours event 5 to 7 this evening.
7 to 9.
Or 7 to 9, sorry, 7 to 9 this evening. See, you should be the one doing this. Of all the things that you do, you're a writer, musician, a DJ, like for events and clubs and so forth, and I don't know, shaman maybe. I don't know what else. Probably part-time shaman. But we were talking off air, and at least when you were young, I mean, here in Springfield, you wanted to be in radio so bad. What you contacted KICK and
or
you had an assignment at school.
The old timers in Springfield, Missouri, from the 70s will remember KICK radio. And I had a school assignment. I was in Horace Mann Elementary, sixth grade, 1975. And I had an assignment to interview somebody with a job I wanted to have. So I called up Peter T on KICK and asked if I could come to the radio station and interview him, and he was totally cool. My dad drove me over in the old the old family beater, and he brought me in the control room, and they had the turntables and the 45s and the carts and so on. It was magical to me, and I was just hooked on radio. And he was so cool and so kind, and my love affair with radio has never diminished over the years. In fact, if Summit Media will man up and offer me something, I may not leave Springfield.
Oh, well.
That classic rock station right down the hall's got my name on the door.
That would certainly be a good fit. Horace Mann, that's on the south.
Village Green.
Okay. Do you remember what street?
Absolutely. Horace Mann was on Broadway.
Right.
And I just lived down the street on Catella, which was just right around the corner from Brad Pitt on Primrose.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. We were all right there in the neighborhood.
All right. Well, so parallel Maplewood. Few. I lived there for a little bit before we moved to Republic. Yeah, when I first moved back here, 2010, lived on that street. I rented the place for a period of time before I bought a home in Republic. So I lived in your neighborhood.
When I got in town the other night, I had to drive through the old neighborhood, get a picture of me in front of the old house. And it was weird because the neighborhood, it's so dark now because all the little trees that our fathers planted from the nursery back in 1967, those trees are gargantuan and they hang over so it's this beautiful, cozy, shady neighborhood now with all these trees that have grown over the years.
I mean, even I went to preschool here over on the campus of Evangel over there. and then some college in the mid 90s. And so my memories obviously are more during that period of time. And some of it's just Springfield has grown. I know it would sound like a couple of old people sitting here talking about this. So I can only imagine, because you have the memories of being in elementary school here.
Sure.
Which is, before my memories of being here in the 90s for going to SMS at the time. And I always think in my mind, I remember my car broke down one time, and riding shotgun with the tow truck driver on the intersection of West Bypass and Sunshine, and like nothing being there.
Sure.
And now there's that massive there's Walmart, there's Target, there's Menards, it's like, and there was nothing there at the time.
Heck, even Sunshine out by KY3, that was almost sort of like the end of the world for us, because even out Sunshine past where that TV studio is, it was fields as far as you could see.
Did you do KY3 yesterday?
Lovely folks at KY3 had me on yesterday for the Place, the afternoon entertainment.
Do you have
show.
any others any other TV or anything today? Or,
that was what I had mapped out was TV yesterday, radio with you today. We do the event tonight, and then boom, I'm back down to Florida.
Well, now back to actually what I was going to ask you, the radio thing. Have you had any career, if you will, in radio? Because you talked about how badly you wanted to do it.
So many close calls.
Yeah.
In recent years, I've actually even gotten as far as being in the conference room with people with suits, for like my own weekly, show.
I'm really surprised that you haven't gotten something.
And we would get very far. As a matter of fact, just a few years ago in Florida, we had one of those meetings, and there were people with suits and clipboards and things. And it was going to be
almost doesn't seem right.
Yeah, a weekly 80s rock show that I was going to be doing. And we love it, and this is how the show's going to go. And it's going to launch on the 16th of next month. We got that far into it. Yeah. And then somewhere between the 16th of one month and the 16th of the next month, it just sort of fell apart. So there's actually been a few close calls like that.
We're talking with Christopher Long, our author of the week, Garage Sale Vinyl. We were talking off air just about radio and how it's changed and everything. And I have this hope, and I don't know which way it's going to go, that with AI becoming prevalent, and with you've even seen some marketplaces responding to the fact that a lot of people don't like it.
Sure.
They like it in certain ways, but not for things, particularly when it comes to just the human component of things. And younger people they just are rejecting it, and I think there's a number of reasons, sometimes maybe even wrong-headed reasons, but nonetheless that they are rejecting it. And to me, that is such an opportunity for radio to go back to the way it was before, to counter that rejection, to get even more human like it was, back in, I'd say even up into the 90s. After that, when the technology allowed for, quote, voice tracking, where somebody in any market could do breaks for any station, and it just all became more almost like a factory in terms of breaks and creativity. And I would love to see stations just really get back to that, and that would be it's a great place for you to be.
Sure. Well, it all goes back to Physics 101, where they teach you for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So as there has been this push towards this corporate cookie cutter, this AI generated content, just an actual push towards that, younger people coming up are going, well, wait a second. Yeah. No, that's really not what we want. It's the same with radio, like you were just saying. Younger people coming up going, well, no, this is like factory crap. We want that real local talent And younger people recognize that and crave that, very much like the music. Yeah, they can get the Harry Styles download immediately, but they still want that the warmth of that physical content.
Well, and the reason I'm hopeful that there's an opportunity to get back to that is because I recognize this is a business. 100% understand that. And so in the end, you've got to make money, and the getting more towards the factory product again. We don't need as many people. We don't have to pay them as much, and we can still not lose revenue. So I understood it from a business model.
Sure.
I got it. I thought it makes sense. But I think that now that going back to the way that it was can be the financially advantageous,
because there's an audience now.
The market's changed.
While we were trying to downsize everything, we took our eyes off this audience over here that has grown and grown. And while, downsizing and fewer people and all that, while I get that from a business perspective, over the years, it's this huge audience that is not being served.
Yeah, the same reasons that they downsized, and that is bottom line, I think are the reasons that going back to the old way is attractive, because of the bottom line. It's money. That is the money. I think that there's an argument to be made that no, hire more people, get back to that, and you can get more money for that. Maybe not 20 years ago, but now you can. And so that's
There's
where
still
I've got
quarters
some hope
on that table that they didn't realize that have been adding up.
Going to take a break, continue on. Christopher Long, author of the week. The book is Garage Sale Vinyl, 7 to 9 and after hours, book signing, hang out, have a good time, meet and greet at ABC Books, who, of course, I've been here 16 years, and they were author of the week before that. So they may be the longest living component on this radio station at this point. I'm Nick Reed. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. The Pyramid Roofing Company. Look, we've had lots and lots of rain over the last couple of days, and we've got even more in the forecast over the next couple of days. Now, if your roof has any type of damage, or maybe your gutters are just really struggling to keep up, reach out to Josh and his team over at the Pyramid Roofing Company. They offer free roof inspections where they take tons of photos and videos so you can see exactly what they see, and they do offer discounts for our military and our first responders on new roof installs. So over the next couple of days, if you notice yellowing on your ceiling, or maybe you just notice that your gutters are really struggling, reach out to Josh, schedule that free roof inspection. You can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
It's an extended, because he's very VIP, Christopher Long, author of the week, in studio with us, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone, the book Garage Sale Vinyl. And as you mentioned, every time you have a book release, you come back home here, and do a thing at ABC Books. You talked about getting to see friends. So do you still have a lot of friends back here, or a few? Or
Social media can either
okay.
be a bad thing
Right.
or a good thing, depending on how you harness that. For me, it's been a very good thing. So all of my best friends from elementary school, I'm still in contact with, frequent contact.
That's nice.
Contact. So it'll be great to actually see everybody tonight, and in some ways the internet makes the world larger. In some ways it makes
That's
it a
true.
lot smaller. So it helps me remain a kid from Springfield.
What age were you? Oh, did you say 11?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's a tough time to move if you've never moved before.
that was bad when I got ripped out of Springfield, Missouri. I didn't think there was going to be life after that, but
Yeah, kids are resilient. Were you?
yeah, I had no choice. I had to bounce back. So went down to Florida and made the best of things. And I love Florida, but I've never felt like a Cocoa Beach kid. I've
Right.
always felt like a Queen City kid I've just been trying to find my way back home for the last 50 years.
You were mentioning social media and how it can be a good thing, a bad thing. I think one of the ways it is a bad thing is when someone today moves, they're 11 years old, and they go somewhere new, then they can bury themselves in that and not be forced to do what you had to do. And I moved around a lot as
Sure.
a kid, and that was literally like one of two things would happen. Either you would literally go door to door. Do you have any kids?
That was me. Yeah, sure.
And I remember this happening as well. The kids in the neighborhood saw the moving van. They would come to the house. Do you have any kids?
Right. Absolutely.
And now, because of social media's existence, as a young person or even as an adult, I guess, you aren't forced to do that. And I think that there's such value in terms of growing as a person emotionally and how to interact with other people, in particularly at a young age, having to do that.
Absolutely, because I'm harnessing the social media as a 64-year-old wise old owl, So those lenses are very different from if
Sure.
you said, if I was just moving today, that would have been the effect that social media has for a young person is very, very different. Yeah, especially going to a new place.
I mean, when we were kids, it was like, you're sitting in front of the TV all to get out there. That was going to ruin you. Like,
Sure.
boy, if we only knew.
Yeah, turn that radio off and get out there and play with your friends.
Yeah, those records. What records did you get going
The
through your
last
records?
week before we left Springfield, it was a Saturday morning. I had KICK radio playing, and my parents were up early, and my dad comes in. He's like, turn that darn radio off and you're going to be leaving. Next week, you'll never see these kids ever again. So get out there and shut that racket off and get out there and play. So,
so when at 11, you probably weren't old enough to have a stomping ground when you left, or do you have memories? I remember when I was a kid, South Campbell, the water slides, was it Wet and Wild? I forget the name of them. They were the concrete ones, and if you got in lane 3, you could flip over into lane 4. Was that here? Do you remember?
In my day, it was called Hi-Ho Slide. It was this huge slide that was out at the intersection of Sunshine and Glenstone.
Okay.
So that was our first exposure to like a water park thing. Was this?
So it was a
huge-
water one?
I'm sorry?
Was it a water slide or
Water
just like a
slide, yeah.
potato sack slide? Okay.
Hi-ho slide, baby. And then if we were behaving particularly well, mom and dad would take us over to Dairy Queen afterwards.
Okay.
But that was a huge water slide right there at that intersection. Hi-ho slide. And my stomping ground was that whole
Just the
Village
neighborhood.
Green,
Yeah.
Park Crest, because you could ride your bike. Summertime, you left the house at 8 o'clock in the morning and you didn't have to come back till 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So you could cover a lot of territory in Springfield.
You know, I don't know if it is still there or not, but the entrance to that neighborhood for the longest time, there were these sort of cylinder castle-like brick things.
That's on Broadway.
Okay, and so it was painted, and they had Village Green painted on it, but
That's
I
right.
don't know if that's still if the Village Green is still
No,
painted on there or not.
These are
It
the
may
things.
be.
These are the things I pay attention to, Nick Reed, because I remember those castles
Yes.
leading you
Yeah.
into Village Green. It was at Walnut Lawn
Yep.
and
Yep. That's
Broadway.
Right. Yeah.
And it was on each side of that corner, and they were little white castles
Mm-hmm.
with the fun sort of
Yeah.
royal kind
Yes.
of font that says Village Green. And a buddy of mine, we drove by there just last night, and they're painted over white, no Village Green, and it's not even a good. It was like
Just
you know,
slapped
somebody
on
had
it.
their 4-year-old come over with, you know, and just slathered white paint over it, so it was a little
Well,
heartbreaking.
I'm sure I don't know when it got painted over, but it I think it was just in the last few years. It was there for the longest time. But one of the other things they did, I noticed in that neighborhood that seemed to go away, they put these, in my assessment, idiotic things in the middle of the road that you had to like swerve around. The idea was to make people slow down. So instead of a speed bump,
Sure.
do you know what I'm talking about,
Yep.
Sarah?
Yes.
Yeah, they're like you had to swerve around, and of course people complained about them because you had to swerve around them, and then some people said it made it even more dangerous driving because people would go through there fast. And I noticed that a lot of those are not there anymore. So I don't know why they got, if they were just like, yeah, we should remove these people. I don't know if they were causing accidents or they got enough complaints, or maybe they were upgrading them. But I just they had put those in some of some of that area over there, but I don't know that they're
Growing up, you know, in my era here, we didn't even have a bike path. You know, there weren't even sidewalks. You know, it was every man for himself out on the bike and
Well, it should
trying to
be.
not go off the side of Walnut Lawn because there weren't even guardrails, and that was a long drop if you weren't paying attention.
Yeah. Christopher Long, the book Garage Sale Vinyl, and again, 7 to 9 after hours, hangout, meet and greet, book signing at ABC Books on North Glenstone. And as always, it's a tremendous pleasure. And thank you so much for coming out and hanging in studio.
It is always a
appreciate it.
pleasure and a privilege. I listen to this show, dude.
You're very
I'm
kind.
telling you, I
Very
got
kind.
that app thing
Yep.
on my smartphone. No matter where I'm at, Cocoa Beach or feeding the chickens and goats in Oklahoma, I'm always listening to the Nick Reed Show. And
I
that
appreciate it.
is the truth.
I appreciate it. It's good to see you.
We'll see everybody tonight at ABC Books. Come on out and give me a hug.
Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. All right, tomorrow we will be broadcasting live Scramblers Friday Road Show. You got just about a minute left or 2 minutes left to get registered to win the 2026 Gold Spur Pass for the Baker's Spain Stampede event all next week. If you aren't aware of everything that's involved, what it is, we're going to be doing the show there Tuesday to kick it off, but you can go to ksgf.com and on the main tile click and see what it's all about. But it's a $700 value for this pair of passes that are for the whole event, including the Pyramid of Camping and pit and everything else. Text the word Baker, Baker, to the Pyramid Roofing Company text line, which is 417-447-KSGF. And you can do that until 9 o'clock this morning. Winner will be contacted. We will have a different keyword tomorrow for a separate pair. Same deal. Glenn Beck's next. I'm Nick Reed.